we are going to be using GitHub a lot as the central place where your work is stored and coordinated, and I get access to it so that I can mark it. You need to get reasonably good at that. I'm going to talk you through it, but there's a whole bunch, like loads of online content about how to use it. I'll point you at some of that, but there's so much you can find yourself. So focus on getting reasonably good at it. You're going to have a lab book, and the lab books are already set up in your environment, which I'll explain what an environment is a bit later. And you just have to fill it in. You just write something else, and you just have to like keep writing your thoughts down, and then sooner or later you can go back to them and be like, oh, I remember doing that last week. So they're stored in your environment, and we'll get to what that means in a bit. The lab books are mostly for you, as I was saying. So it helps you, but it also shows me that you're working, that you're thinking, all that kind of thing. And so organizing your thoughts is super important, but it also means that at some point in the future, if there's some kind of dispute or something along those lines, I can say, oh no, look, I have this recorded lab book that shows me what was going on. And they're a good habit to get into for professional work as well. So let's just keep going with them. And it's writing as a process of thinking, not as a process of trying to impress me, your marking tutor, or something stupid like that. This is about you understanding and writing, because when you write something down, it clears it up in your head. And when you write it down often, you're like, oh, that's not right. I don't understand why that is the case. So what are we not going to cover in this course? Oops, go back to that. So what are we not going to cover in this course? Code is often discussed in terms of, why am I? Oh, fine. Okay, I get it. Code is often discussed in terms of how it's going to be consumed by the computer. But in almost all cases, code is consumed by people much more. So there's a very classic quote in one of the sort of foundational programming texts, which is, programs must be written for people to read and only incidentally for machines to execute. And so if we have a look at this code here, the code on the left was easier to type because it wasn't so many characters. But if you had to read this and understand it, it's totally useless. Whereas this on the right is much easier to understand. It's what we call self-documenting. And so think a lot about how you are writing your code so that it is easy for future you to understand. I'm going to use this concept of past you and future you a lot. So I think it would be useful if you started using it as well. Think about how present you can be a good person to future you, because certainly in my life, past me has been a massive jerk on a regular basis, and it upsets me a lot. Present me is very sad about what past me has done. I'm going to skip that bit. No, I'm not. Okay. The other thing to think about is how you're going to deal with disappointment. So Marcus Aurelius wrote lots of very useful things about how to deal with that kind of stuff. You can read his work. He's been going for a while. But for instance, I spent better part of a month trying to debug my work when I was at uni. I had a major project I was trying to do, and it just didn't work. And I didn't understand at all why. And it was because I had a minus sign instead of a plus. And in a lot of programming languages, or all programming languages, the characters you use really matter. And so a minus sign does something different to a plus sign, but it's only a couple of pixels different. And a colon versus a semicolon is only 1 pixel different. And so in this course, there's going to be a whole bunch of pain. But this course is roughly in the box, and the amount of pain is going to decrease towards the end of the course, but sadly it's still quite a lot. But it means that for the rest of your career, there's going to be distinctly less pain. So this box here is the rest of your life, where you've got all the pain out of the way. I guess this is like training for exercise or something, where it's going to hurt at the time. You've got the like train hard, play easy, or whatever they say. But this is pretty normal. This is a tweet from a guy who works at Google, and he wrote some major thing, and he's constantly looking up how to do basic things. That's fine. You can be okay with that. There's another tweet from a guy who is always looking up the documentation for libraries he wrote himself. So present you have to be nice to present you, but you also have to be good to future you as well. Think a lot about what future you would like present you to do, and you'll be much, much happier.